Bonjour et bienvenue à toutes et à toutes à cette troisième édition de Success Week avec EduCarib. Comme vous le savez déjà, ou si vous ne savez pas, EduCarib est une organisation, une équipe ouvrant pour montrer aux jeunes qu'ils peuvent accéder à des formations d'excellence dans la région. Aujourd'hui, on va avoir une discussion sur le sujet de Why Choose the Caribbean? Pourquoi choisir les Caraïbes pour faire les études d'éducation tertiaire? Et comme j'ai dit tout à l'heure, cette discussion aura lieu en anglais. So, viens pratiquer avec moi en anglais, poser des questions et écouter à ce qu'on va dire en anglais. Bref, maintenant, je vais switcher en anglais. Hi, good morning to everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to this third edition of Success Week with EduCarib. Today, we're going to be talking about why choose the Caribbean. Why choose institutions in the Caribbean to do your tertiary studies? Today, I'm going to be joined by a few persons who are going to tell us about their experiences studying in different countries in the Caribbean. We're going to ask each of them to just join the room and give us a little bit of introduction on who they are, what they studied, and why they studied. And then after the introductions, we're going to get right into a line of questioning on different topics that may be of interest. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat and we will see if we can just drop them and have another discussion. So please feel free to engage with us as we have this very important discussion. So first up, I'm going to invite Shani to tell us who she is. Hi, Shani.
Morning. All right, thank you for having me. My name is Shani I'm 25. I am currently a medical student at UWI Mona Campus, Jamaica. And I'm here because I did a year of medicine in Guadeloupe, Afuyol, a very long time ago, but I'm here to share my experience on both.
Thank you, Shani. And Shani, I don't know how I forgot to say that my name is Stephanie, but I'm Stephanie Sewell. So I'm happy to be here as well to moderate this discussion. And next up, I'm going to invite John to give his brief introduction.
Hello, everybody. My name is John Altius. I'm 28 years old. I'm currently studying in Martinique. My master's in money, bank, finance, and insurance. Prior to that, I was at the University of the West Indies, open campus. I did my licence in banking and finance compliance and corporate governance.
All right. Thank you, John. I'm going to invite Aura to tell us who she is as well. Aura, ready up.
Hi everyone, I'm Aura. I'm from St. Lucia. I live in Jamaica, came here a few years ago to do my master's in business. And prior to that, I was at UE St. Augustine, where I did my bachelor's in business administration. So happy to be here.
I'm happy you're here as well, Aura. All right, next I'm going to ask John to join. Not John, sorry. I'm going to ask Chad to join us. John's already with us. All right, let's see you, Chad.
Hey, good morning, everyone. I am Chad Gill. So I did my chemical and process engineering degree as an undergraduate degree at UAC St. Augustine some years ago, and I currently work at Jamalco in Jamaica.
All right, Chad. You don't have to be afraid to tell us how many years ago that was, some years ago.
It was between 2012 and 2015.
Oh, that's quite a while ago.
Yes, I am 28. Yes.
Thank you for joining us, Chad. All right, Arita, I'm going to ask you to join. All right, it seems we've lost Arita briefly, but we're going to get back to her soon. So, okay, all right, Arita is back. I'm going to now invite our final participant, Arita, to join the discussion and just give us a brief introduction about who she is, her background, and then we'll get right into it. Hi, Arita.
Hi guys, I'm having a little bit of technical difficulties on my.
All right. Well, while we try and get back Arita, how about we just get right into the discussion? So I just want to know, first of all, where are your home countries? And are there any tertiary institutions in your home countries? Let's start with Aura. Okay, no, Arita's back. All right, so Arita, yes, go ahead and introduce yourself, please.
Yes, hi, I'm Arita Phillip. I'm from the island of Antigua and Barbuda. I have a background with a bachelor's that I started in Antigua and then I completed in Barbados at the UE Cable campus.
All right, so Arita is having some technical difficulties. Not strange to us at all. Everybody has those days. But let's get into the questioning in the meantime. So I think, Aura, you were going to go first and tell us where you're from and, just let us know if there were any tertiary institutions in your country.
Okay, I'm from St. Lucia. There are tertiary education institutions in my country. Arita is back. In my country, there are a few franchises. So, for instance, I did my first degree, started in St. Lucia with open campus, but it was a full-time program that was subsidized by the government. So it was at the Sir Arthur Lewis College, really, in parallel with UE St. Augustine, so to speak, where you complete your first 2 years in St. Lucia, then you do your last year in St. Augustine. So there are these, and then there are other medical institutions like Sparta, etc., that people do there.
Okay, fantastic. What about you, Chad? Where are you from? And, why did you choose to study elsewhere?
All right. So I am from Jamaica. So we have two main institutions. We have University of the West Indies and we have University of Technology. We also have NCU in Mandeville. Those are really the three main institutions, tertiary institutions in Jamaica. So for me, the reason why I chose Trinidad to study is because, first and foremost, UE was really my primary choice of education. That's just based on, I would want to say history, but because I wanted to study engineering, I was made aware that if I wanted to do engineering, I would go to Trinidad. If I wanted to do medicine, I would go to Mona. And if I wanted to do law, I would go to Barbados. That was what they taught us from high school days.
Right.
So because I wanted to do engineering, I said that let me go to Trinidad. So, a matter of fact, before I even would say Trinidad, I think the first option, because we're saying why do we choose the Caribbean, was really to go overseas. So Canada was actually my first choice, and I wanted to really go University of Toronto. I was accepted, but when I looked at the tuition, I was like, no, that's impossible. And I tried to get a scholarship. There was only like one scholarship for the entire world. So I applied and I was unsuccessful. So Trinidad was actually second choice, but I didn't have a problem going there because I said that it's a Caribbean, so there should be some similarity with Jamaica. And I went to Trinidad to study. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. All right, John, do you want to go next?
Oh well,
I think, you're also from St. Lucia, like Aura. So you
yes,
will both have similar things to say, but different backgrounds, sort of ish. So go ahead and tell me.
yes. Well, in St. Lucia, there's only there are two tertiary institutions for higher learning. The Open Campus, UWI Open Campus, and South Louis Community College. I chose the Open Campus because it was flexible for me. At the time, I could have booked and attend school. Also, the platform that they use is very efficient. You have a good help desk also, and you have all the material there available. Um, Also, right now I'm actually in Martinique, um, where I benefit from the schooling, which is relatively cheap to study there if you know French, and they have a lot of social assistance there also. I studied my first degree. I did open campus in money bank and finance, whilst I worked in the bank, and I came over to Martinique to do my masters in money bank finance and insurance. Um, I would say that I think that people need to be made aware of the integration with Martinique and the OACS. It's now becoming relatively easy for people to move around the countries. Hence, they share advantages such as education. And this is why I'm here. It was as a result of this integration they started the ALA program for all students in the Caribbean. We have Haitians there, we have people from St. Kitts, Antigua, and
Ah,
we benefit from the public school in Martinique. So
okay.
we pay very, very cheap for quality education.
That's good. That's good. I'm glad you highlighted the aspect of being quality education being provided in the Caribbean. Shani, how about you?
All right, so straight out of high school, I originally applied to UA for medicine. Sadly, I did not get the government scholarship, and my parents and I looked at that school fee and we realized that we could not manage that cost. So I had actually applied to Cuba, but because I have two working parents, they said they wouldn't accept me on that scholarship. I was looking at China, but my parents were kind of skeptical, so that's how Guadeloupe came up into the picture. My grandma was living there, so I figured, I speak French, so why not try? I'm young, just take a leap of faith and try. So that's how I ended up there. I only did 1 year because I realized that my French was good to survive, just maybe not good enough to do medicine. Medicine is a language in itself. I just did not have the vocabulary and grammatical structures to get through. And the structure is a bit different, but we can get into that afterwards. So then I came back and I actually didn't go straight into medicine. I did a year in science and technology where I was told that if I did a year and got really high grades, that they will accept me on a scholarship, and that's how I got through to
And you
medicine.
did.
Hmm.
Congrats on that.
Thank you.
So we mentioned, or I think it was Chad who mentioned a little earlier that within the English speaking Caribbean, a lot of the students choose to go to UE. And they always say if you want to do medicine, you go to Mona. If you want to do law, you go to Cave Hill in Barbados. Mona is in Jamaica for those of you who are from outside of the Caribbean. And then if you want to do engineering, you should go to St. Augustine campus, which is in Trinidad. And just a little bit of history, that is because of how the University of the West Indies was established many, many years ago in, I think, 1952, 1948, somewhere around there. And we really were aiming for this level of regional integration that would just bring students from all across the Caribbean to different countries to do different studies. And it started with medicine in Kingston.
Right,
So eventually, things kind of split up a little bit, and different countries started to offer different areas of study. So now there is a faculty of engineering in Jamaica as well. But I'm hoping that in any case, child would have still decided to go and study at St. Augustine in Trinidad, just to have that experience of studying somewhere else.
Yes.
So I want to kind of move the discussion along now, especially for the benefit of the students or potential students who want to know how to get in to an institution that isn't their home country. So I want to ask, what was the process to apply for the institution or institutions that you got into? And even if it's the institution in your home country, was it an easy process? What was it like for you? Let's start with John.
Okay, well, I'll start with my home country. To get into the UWI Open Campus, it's relatively flexible because the campus realizes that there are some people who may have gone to college, who may not have gone to college. Um, they accept everybody. Once, obviously, they put them in whatever program you're doing. There are prerequisites for the program. If you want to do a bachelor's, then you either have to have a college degree, or if you don't, you have to do courses to get the equivalent of what's needed for that college degree so that you could actually enroll into the bachelor's degree. Um, for right now in Martinique, it's a little bit more complicated. You need to have some form of finance, a source of finance. You also need to apply for a visa. Furthermore, you need to have a certain level of French to enter the university itself, so which is the B2 requirement. And you need to finalize where you're going to stay. You need to make these arrangements so that you get the visa to enter the country, and you need to make sure that you have the language requirements and the necessary prerequisites to enter whatever program you want to do. So if you're doing a master's, we all know you need to have your bachelor's. And if you want to do a license, then we all know you need to have a college degree.
All right. Thank you, John. I just want to big up Lorene. Hi. She says hi to everyone. So thank you so much for joining, Lorene. Please feel free to add any questions that you have. And let's go to Aura next. I think Aura is really enthusiastic to tell us about how she went through the process of applying to was it 3 institutions that you had
Okay, so
enrolled
it
in?
was two. So for my first degree, I don't really remember the process, to be honest. I just think I applied to UE and got through. I don't remember the full process. That was many moons ago, according to Chan. But for my second degree, when I was doing my master's, I remember applying to UE, Mona, to do a master's, to do an MBA. And I remember they responded saying to do an MBA, you needed to have, I think, 3 to 5 years work experience. And I didn't have that because I was coming from doing my bachelor's. I worked for like 1 year, and then I was now applying to do my master's. So because I didn't have the 3 or 5 years work experience, consecutive work experience, they suggested that I do an MBA, which is the same subject, same program as a master's, an MBA, except this is a full-time program. So the MBA is a part-time program because it's catered more towards the working world, where people will have the flexibility of going to work and doing evening classes and so on. Whereas the MBM, same courses, same subjects and workload, but it's a full-time program where you come to class every day. So they're flexible in that sense and allow you, so you can't do the MBA because you don't have the work experience. Hey, we have something else if you don't. And it was really flexible and awesome.
Right.
And that's how I got in.
Can you tell us one more time what is the difference between, what an MBA means versus what an MBA means for those of us who aren't
Sure,
from?
sure. So an MBA is a Master's in Business Administration, and an MBM is a Master's in Business Management. But it's the same subjects. We're in the same classes as the MBA students. They really just, I guess, to differentiate between full time and part time, they give it different names. Yeah,
Okay.
that's the main difference that I can recall.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for clarifying that for us. Chad, do you want to tell us?
I really can't recall. I don't remember the process being difficult. That's all I can say. I just remember um, going on the website and it just based on the requirements that they asked for. If it was maths, physics, chemistry in terms of the CSEC and K passes, they just wanted to see the certifications and other requirements. But I just remember I got a response from UA late, like in August. I think it was mid-August when classes had started September. So that was a bit last minute for St. Augustine. And because I had to think about where I would stay, because it's a new country, so I had to apply for a hall of residence. And then again, we have in Jamaica, they already tell you which hall you must go on from before you even get to the campus. So all the Jamaicans, they said that should go on Canada Hall. And Canada Hall was actually full because they were doing some renovations. So I went to Milner Hall. And even when I started working and I told them I went on Milner Hall, they wanted to treat me differently or with some form of disrespect, but it's just a
But you
hall.
ended up on the best hall, child.
Best hall, yes.
On the best
Yes.
hall.
That's how I met Aura. So
Uh,
yeah, but it wasn't a difficult process, honestly. Just filling out some forms online and they get back to you. I think it's just a matter of you having the requirements. That's the most important thing. But it wasn't difficult. Yeah.
Okay, great, great, great. We are gonna talk a little bit more about halls and associated costs with living in another country in a few minutes. So I want to stick a pin right there on Canada Hall and Milner Hall. And for those of us who are not from the English speaking Caribbean, I want to know what exactly a hall is and what's so great about a hall as opposed to however else we call it elsewhere. But let's get back to that in a minute. I want to just highlight some other persons who have joined us. Hi, so much, Rosie, and hi, Daniela Rose, Danny Rose. Thank you so much for joining us. Feel free to ask questions in the chat. Now I want to get to Shani. You told us about what it was like to get into the Faculty of Medical Sciences at UWI Mona and how exactly you're able to transition from the Faculty of Science and Technology into medicine there. But can you remember? I know it was quite a few years ago as well, but can you remember what it was like getting into medicine in Guadeloupe?
To be honest, I didn't really do much. I do remember because my grandmother, since she was there, she was doing a lot of it on my behalf. But I do remember that I had to send like birth certificates and the regular things that you have to send to universities. I had to get my qualifications translated and certified, and I had to send that back because they don't know what like CAPE and TSEC level is. Um, I also had to give proof that I took the Delft B2 exam to show my level of French. Thankfully, I had done that beforehand.
Right.
Um,
Like
and
John.
well, yes, basically the same. And I didn't really have to deal with the dorm because my grandmother had already taken it upon herself to say she will carry me in every day and she will deal with the cost and stuff. So it was relatively easy, to be honest. It was a last minute thing, and so it was kind of rushed. But those are the things that I remember I needed.
Okay, okay, okay. So I see we have a question in the comments. Did you meet a lot of international students, and could they find English? Could you find English courses in, or could they find English courses in your university? Go ahead, or I see you nodding.
Yes, I met a lot of mostly regional students though from other Caribbean islands, and they're my friends to this day. Most of them are from Martinique, Guadeloupe, and Jamaica. They found English courses. Stephanie, perhaps you can help me. I don't remember how they ended up in Jamaica, but their course was I don't remember, but yeah, they found English courses, and I remember in some instances they had a lot of when they had essays and projects to write, they would always read them to me or have them to proofread it to ensure that the English was fine, because sometimes translating from French to English is not as smooth. So I remember always helping them out with that where that's concerned. But I think as part of their program that they started off in Martinique and Guadeloupe and wherever else, they chose to come to Jamaica. So Stephanie will have to help me. But yeah, they were there. It's not difficult to find other students, especially at UWI Mona, I will say. It's not difficult to find other students from your country and to find English courses as well.
Right. So I actually met all of the students from Martinique. So my background, I actually did a bachelor's and master's in politics and international cooperation. But to do this program, a lot of people call it MPIC. It is the or Sciences Po or FIFCA. We have many names for the program, but it is a program that is a collaboration between three different universities. There's the University of the West Indies, there is the Université des Antilles in Martinique, and then there is l'Institut d'études politiques or Sciences Po in Bordeaux. So in that program, students from the different UWI campuses, as well as students from the French Caribbean and from L'Hexagone, France, are invited to join this program. And it's a 5-year program that takes you through the process of doing a bachelor's at UWI Mona and at Université des Antilles, and then doing a master's degree through UWI and Sciences Po Bordeaux. So that's actually where I met quite a few of the students that Aura would have met while she was at UWI. So when I was at UWI, okay, it was UAG when I was there, but when I was at Université des Antilles, we did have a French class, and it was a good class. It was really based in the culture, trying to get us to, not just understand the language, but the cultural aspects of the language as well, especially being in the French Caribbean and not just metropolitan France. And while I was at Sciences Po Bordeaux, I did have French classes as well. And all of the international students had to do English and another language, I think. And we also had to do Spanish when we were at UAG. Now, for UWI Mona, I do believe that by that time, the students had a very high level of English. So I'm not sure that an English class was mandatory, but I do believe that there are English classes that are optional, at least at UWI Mona. So if it is that you're interested, you can always just reach out to me, or you can keep on putting questions. So I see you have another question here. Is the program different for international students? Well, the thing is, that specific program that had the students from Martinique and Guadeloupe and UWI and Metropolitan France, that was specific to those students. So I don't think anyone was really considered as international, because by nature of the program, it was an international program. So the only thing that would be different is, I guess, some of the courses that they were required to do. So students from the English-speaking Caribbean were asked to do French, and the French students were asked to do English. So that's the only thing. And I guess the different campuses would have been charging different tuitions. But if you're interested, then I think, one of the other persons in the chat, Daniela, I don't know if you would like to, tell us a little bit more about your experience at UWI Mona and let us know if you did any English classes, right? So guys, now that we've gone through the brief introduction about, where we studied, how we got in there, I want to get into the meat of the matter now, the most important thing, financing, because Chad mentioned it earlier. Tertiary education is expensive, especially depending on where you go. So tell me, how did you finance your studies and what financing options are available? I see Aura over there smiling, so I wonder if she wants to go ahead and start.
Okay, so finance. Okay, all right. So for my first degree, which I completed in Trinidad, so as I said, the first 3 years was subsidized by the government. So my parents were able to pay it out of pocket. It wasn't as expensive, and I would recommend it too. everyone. You don't have to go to another country if you're in St. Lucia, that is, and you want to do not all the programs though, but there are some programs that you could do from UWI St. Augustine that you would be able to do while living in St. Lucia. So I think as much as possible, as long as that's still available, take advantage of it. I don't remember how much it was, but I remember that my parents were able to pay it out of pocket, and even in my last year in Trinidad too, as well, because it was heavily subsidized. And I don't. Chad would probably have to help me. I don't remember how much hall life was, how costly it was to live on hall. I do remember that Trinidad's currency was a bit lower than the Eastern Caribbean currency, so that helped out a bit. Um, but in Jamaica, I had to take a student loan for Jamaica. My master's program was about 4.5 million Jamaican dollars. How much is that in US?
Many monies. I think that's like
Many.
30,000.
Yeah, it was a lot. It wasn't just tuition though. Let me disclaimer. It wasn't just tuition. It included tuition. No, I lie. Sorry. Tuition alone was 4.5. Tuition alone was $4.5 million. And then I had to include boarding and lodging on there. So I had to get a student loan because I know where my parents have that money just, lying around. So I had to get a student loan for that to be able to live in Jamaica while studying in Jamaica, and to be able to travel back and forth between St. Lucia and Jamaica just to see my family. So all of that was included in my student loan. Of course, you have to know what your flexibility and your options are, because I know other people who took student loans but didn't include traveling in there and just tough it out at Christmas time, just stay in Jamaica or stay in whatever country they were in. Um, so I had to take a student loan, which I'm still paying now. I started paying it a few years later. Depending on your bank, they give you that grace period after you finish your degree. So don't be afraid of student loans. Like I always tell people, don't be afraid of it, because it is a way to get a higher education. And then you get a good job afterwards, you start paying it off. It's not something to feel like a debt is going to burden you for life, because you get something that no one can take away from you afterwards. It's your degree. So I graduated in 2018 with my master's, and I had to start paying it in 2019. So they gave me like a year before I had to start paying it. And I have a few more long years to go, but it was worth it. So I'd say check out the financial options in your country at your different banks and whatnot, and explore what is the best option for you.
Okay, all right, Sister Aura, thank you. I um know, especially in Jamaica, there is a lot of hesitation to take on student loan, especially with our revolving student loan fund. But I find I've found a lot of people that have been able to also pay it off, in just a few years after studying, and also would agree that it is very much worth it. It is an investment and should be looked at as such. Arita, unfortunately, is having some technical difficulties still, and she sent her apologies, but she's going to be joining us via YouTube. So I'm hoping that she'll be able to add some feedback and some comments in the YouTube chat. So let's look out for her there. Arita was supposed to be our fifth panelist, but you know how the technology goes sometimes. Sometimes it just lets us down and we can't do anything about it. So let's go to Shani next. So you said you had the support of your grandmother when you were in Guadeloupe, but what were the costs like while you were there? And what are the costs like of studying at medicine at UWI? I mean, you said that you're now on a government scholarship program, but I'm sure that still, you know,
Mhm.
incurs some additional costs. Let's go. Let's hear it out.
All right. So in Guadeloupe, tuition is essentially free. Um, but we do pay some fees, which is what I think we call miscellaneous fees, like maintenance and upkeep. I remember it was 2004, so a while ago. It
14.
was 2014. Yes, 2014. I paid about 400. Well, I know that the base was 400 euros, but because I'm an international student, I think I probably paid $300 more, and that was for the year. I was living at grandma, so I didn't have to worry about food. I didn't have to worry about gas or transportation. I didn't have to worry about dorms. So it was doable. And with the conversion rate, it wasn't bad compared to any studies in Jamaica. The first year at SciTech, Science and Technology, the fee was it was less than 300,000 for the year, so that was doable. But I didn't get the government scholarship straight out of high school. That's where the government would pay 80%, right? They have requirements for that. I don't know if it's changed. I don't know if it's harder to get, but at the time you were able to do a 1 year, not really program per se, and science and tech, and then they would assess you based on your grades. They would have a point system, and if you got like 30 and above, they would give you a scholarship. So what I got was 50% scholarship. Now our school fee, unfortunately, in Jamaica is quoted in US dollars, and with the sliding dollar, Jamaican dollar, that's not really working in our favor. So, for example, when I started in 2015, the school fee for the year was 3.2 million per year, and it's a 5 year course. So, with the 50%, thankful, that's the only way I could get in, cut the school fee in half, and then I went to SLB Student Loan Bureau to get a loan. Unfortunately, the max for any degree is $1 million a year. So we use that to try and offset, and we just try to, tough it out. But I have to say that 50% scholarship was my saving grace. Um, Other options, I mean, there are other entities that provide funding, but I have looked and I found that they kind of avoid offering scholarships and grants to medicine students and law students. And I think dentistry, because dentistry's fee is not far off from us. So it was really hard. But any other degree, it seems that there are lots of options out there available on UA. I believe that they have a list of grants that you can look at to see if you meet the requirements. Some are for international students, some are for Jamaican. It's just a matter of looking and trying your best. But yeah, it's not cheap here. But I'm finishing up now, so I have 5 student loans to go pay off. But I think the experience it was worth it. Both experiences were worth it. And it's for a betterment of you at the end of the day, right? So, and it's quality education. So yeah, that's all I have to say.
All right, thank you. I see Arita has joined us. Hi, Arita. I'm so sorry that the technology is not facilitating this discussion as we would have wanted it, but please feel free to add your comments and just tell us, what it was like for you financing your education. So, John, you told us a bit earlier, but go ahead and continue your story about how you ended up at UA and
Yeah.
financing and the different areas of financing as well.
Well, I'd like to touch on a little bit of the open campus. I realized that we did different programs though we're from the same country. Mine was more part-time, where you could probably choose a maximum of 3 courses per semester, depending on whether or not you could handle it. Each course right now is per course 972 EC per course. So if you're doing a bachelor's program, you probably have 40 courses. You may end up, I was doing some calculations that we were talking, you may end up paying 29,000 EC dollars for part-time open campus bachelor's degree course in St. Lucia. Like I say, it's flexible. The program is usually 3 years. It's flexible. Some people take 4. You have a maximum up to, I believe, 6 years to complete it. 6 years to complete. For here at the University des Antilles, the cost has been reduced par rapport, sorry, as a result of the scholarship program we pay 300 euros tuition fees. However, the actual tuition fees for international students range from probably 300 euros to 1,000 euros. On campus rent, it's 300 maximum euros for a room. So you end up probably, if we take the $1,000, end up total for this, just the rent and the registration, 4,600 euros. Okay, that's what you pay. So you have your rent. That's for the year. The difference between open campus, I would say, and St. Lucia, in terms of the quality, same quality education, wonderful. However, they have two different ways of operating. Here, it's a public school system. The University des Antilles. Um, the the luxuries you will find with UE is very much different. UE much more supportive. You have all your platforms. You have emails. You have help desk. You have um, freedom to move. We have UE games. Not sure if you know about that.
You can
We
tell us
have all
about
the
it later.
campus. It's wonderful. I would love to tell you. We have UE games. All the campus come to compete. So there is a form of togetherness in the Caribbean as a result of the University of the West Indies. However, though Martinique is cheaper, you basically get what you pay for. Same quality education, however, the platforms and the support that the UE has invested in to ensure that students receive all the help that they need, whether it's part time or full time, you do not get it here. It's different. You have to work much harder, and
So those
that's
of
the
us who
difference.
So those of you, sorry, John, who are watching us from Guadeloupe and Martinique and Guyana and wherever else, I hope you heard what John said. The University of the West Indies welcomes you. There's a sense of togetherness, and the platforms are very user friendly. In John's words, so feel free. There are English courses available, etc. Feel free to ask questions on how to apply, how to get in, and what the experience was like. And as we get to this area of togetherness, I want to ask now. Chad and Aura mentioned Milner Hall earlier. John, I see that is it Bâtiment Océane
Right.
at the University des Antilles campus? Tell us what it was like living on the different campus. We can start with Chad. Chad, you were telling us earlier about Canada Hall and Milner Hall. Tell us what it was like on Milner Hall. And where is Milner Hall again? Tell me again.
All right, so our Milner Hall is basically right on the outskirts of the St. Augustine campus. So when persons ask me about my experience in Trinidad, I remember more the hall than the classroom because the hall was really the best thing about Trinidad. Yeah, Milner
Okay.
Hall. Well, it's now called Freedom Hall. I think that's the new
Right.
name.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, it was. There was some racial issue that made them change it from Milner to Freedom Hall, but I won't get into that. But when I was leaving Jamaica, I was a bit, I would say, nervous, or I think I wasn't sure of making that move because it was the first time I was leaving my mother's home, and I thought that I probably wouldn't have gelled so well with the other Caribbean students. But luckily, I went with a friend of mine who I've known from about age 12. So, and he was my roommate. But on hall, we had students from all over the Caribbean. So, St. Lucia, Barbados, Montserrat, you name it, everywhere. So, on hall, we had, when I talk about togetherness, I really can't knock those words because I still have, up till this day, I have friends in so many different Caribbean countries where if I know that I'm traveling, I can call them and I can count on them to carry me here and there. On hall, we had International Food Day where each country would come together as a group and they cook their national dish or whichever dish that they think that can win. You understand? So I got a taste of everyone's culture and cooking, which honestly Caribbean people can cook very well, I must say. I must say. And
Here, here.
I'm not going to say Jamaica. I'm going to say that Jamaica is the best, but I know that some persons will feel away. See, already in the side.
Hey, all right, you can stay over there with your sauce, okay? If that's your idea of Caribbean people, other Caribbean people cook better than Jamaicans, I beg to differ. And I have to say as well, I don't know if it was Yui Day. I don't remember what they call the day on Mona campus, but that was the first time that I tasted two things. I remember tasting bus up shot, which is
Mhm.
basically curry something and the roti. And I was like, wow, this is a very creative way of eating. And the texture of the roti, all of it was just so nice. And then trying grenada's oil dong. And then also later on trying St. Lucia's sauce, which was, I must say, not the same. But tell us, Orana, what was your experience living at Mona campus or at St. Augustine campus?
It was exactly what Chad said. It was vibes. It was vibes. You have
Vibes.
to do your schoolwork, of course, but like UE is hard. Okay, the work is difficult. You have to put in a lot to get what you want. So when you have campus experiences like that of Milner Hall, and it's a dormitory, it's a dorm. So I don't know why they call them halls at UE, but they're called halls, but they're really just dorm rooms, and there are different types of rooms. So you can have single rooms where it's just you alone. There are postgrad halls as well where persons can stay. These are people doing postgraduate degrees. And there's double rooms where you share with a roommate. So depending on your degree, depending on your financial, where your budget can stretch, you get the type of room that you would want. But regardless what you came there to do, Milner Hall was a family. It was a place to be. Like all the other halls wanted to be there, and I didn't have a choice. Kind of like Chad, my father actually stayed on Milner Hall when he went to UE.
Oh,
So
wow.
it was when I was coming over, it was like, yeah, this is where you have to stay. I didn't even know there was any other hall, and really there isn't any other hall. So it was really good staying on campus and living on Milner. Coming here to Jamaica, I stayed on a postgrad hall, which was very different because in your first degree days, you know, young and free ish. When you come to do a master's degree, I was also living on hall here to do my master's, but it was a postgrad hall, which was much more concentrated with postgraduate students. Those students who are more focused and driven to complete your master's because it's no time to joke around and stuff. Which was still good though, and then everyone had their own single rooms, so it was pretty cool living on campus. There was something I wanted to say earlier about what Chad had said, but I can't remember. Oh no, it was you, Stephanie. South is amazing. Okay, the people who know South know that South is a wonderful dish. Some people might not like it, but there's also chicken feet in Jamaican, cow skin. Like,
We eat it in soup. What are you
Banana,
trying
banana,
to
banana,
say?
banana.
mm-mm, chicken feet though. But
Yeah,
yeah,
but what is
it,
what is
it,
what is sauce though?
it's parts of an animal, of a cow.
Which
That
part?
should not be eaten.
Exactly, exactly. So
You're
all of
not
us
supposed
out
to
here
eat
eating
chicken feet,
parts that we
people.
shouldn't be
Let's not.
eating.
No, let's not. We don't. You're not supposed to eat chicken feet and gizzard. Gizzard. What you
We're
call it?
not supposed to be
Gizzard?
eating gizzard
Gizzard.
either.
Gizzard. Anyway, they're all dishes from different Caribbean islands. We all eat the same thing pretty much, to be honest. We
Just
just eat
different
them
ways.
differently. We just eat them differently. We do different things with it. I think in St. Lucia we believe you can eat every single part of the pig, and Cuba, which is true. Every part is edible. So there are different ways to prepare different parts of the pig. And yeah, but it's a great opportunity to learn about the different cultures of the Caribbean. We're all one person, to be honest. We're different in so many ways, but then you get to learn what is different about what those different islands do, how they act, how they dance, their rhythm, the things they enjoy eating, the things they enjoy doing. And you is a melting pot of that, and it allows for you to know so much about other countries. The food is the best part, I think, but it's a great opportunity.
Right. So I see a question from Arita in the chat. And while I get to that question, I just want Shani to jump in and tell us, yes, you are living with your grandmother in Guadeloupe, but that doesn't mean that you didn't get to have some experiences with the Guadeloupeans that were there, especially because you are also a Guadeloupean kind of sort of, yes, you are ish. So tell us now, what was that like for you and how does that compare to your experience now at UE Mona?
Well, I'm sorry to disappoint. Because the structure of the degree is very different from UE. Everyone's paying, everyone's starting relatively at the same level. Over there, because it's free, the format is different. So the top 50 are the ones who advance to year two. So what I found was that it was 1,026 of us in the class. The theater could hold half of us. So there was a shift system I will never forget. And because only of 150 move on, the other a percentage of the 800 that didn't manage would resit the year, repeat the year to try again. Right. So the dynamic was very different. Everybody was just kind of down in their books, really focused to try and get through in that 150. And in France, they put the ranking online, so you don't want you don't want to be at the bottom of the class, right? But I did meet some people. They were relatively nice. It didn't really go out much, but I did keep in contact with one guy who's been really supportive ever since. Difference from UE. I mean, every university is kind of the same. If you're a foreigner, you feel like everybody comes to school and their cliques from high school. So that's not really different. But medicine is a world in itself that I found, and so the type of personalities that you find in medicine aren't necessarily conducive to you know that kind of relationship. But it's not for everyone, right? You find some wonderful people, lifelong friends, which I found. So it all depends on what you're looking for. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
So, as you were talking about medicine and some people being down in their books, I want to know a little bit about classroom attire and classroom etiquette. Is there, Arita is now asking us, what were your experiences like? Is it that for medicine or for business administration or for engineering, did you have to dress in a certain way or conduct yourself in a certain way in the classroom? I'll go ahead and start out by saying that when I was at Sciences Po in Bordeaux, I remember, I mean, I basically just like a farmer when I was going to school because this is France. I'm thinking, okay, it's going to be super cold. It's going to be snowing every day. It was not. But I was just looking like a student, like a homeless student going to class, and I had no shame about it. Meanwhile, there were other students who were dressed in suit and tie every day. And yeah, it was so strange to me. I mean, there were students in leather jackets sometimes, the cool kids, but then you had students who looked like politicians, mainly because I guess the students there are all budding politicians, but there were lots of students who were very serious about I guess how other people perceive them, um and just kind of made it very clear. But that was just my experience with the politicians or the politicians to be. What was it like for you, Chad, at St. Augustine? Did everybody dress like an engineer? How does an engineer dress anyway?
No, no. All right. So at Trinidad, well, I think for all of the programs, I'm not sure about probably medicine or nursing or some other programs, but we didn't have a dress code. You could wear whatever you want to wear. So most persons would go casual. But interestingly, in Trinidad, and this is another thing about hall life. So on Milner Hall, we had what we call mix and match day, which was really something promotional for our hall concert. And I still have a picture of Aura in her mix and match outfit. But we legitimately went. Some persons wore, like, men would wear the female clothes. Persons would wear looking like plumber. Everything does mix up. Pajama, brief, it doesn't matter. Like, I remember one class, I went into an engineering class, I think in second year, I was trying to look like Vibes Cartel with a bleached out face. I remember putting powder on my face, and I remember going into the classroom, and I remember keeping a straight face because I didn't want to laugh. But everybody started laughing, and when I was writing, taking the notes, the powder was going on the book. And I was dying on inside, but I just try to keep a straight face. But really and truly, there wasn't any attire. You wore what you wanted to wear. It's not like high school where you had a uniform. And for engineers, well, when you start working, obviously, even at work now, we just need our PPE. That's the most
Overalls.
important thing. Yeah.
Your
And long
what?
with no PPE, personal protective
Okay.
equipment. So that our steel toe boots. You can wear the pants just has to be long. It can be jeans or it can be dress pants. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
And the
I
other
see.
PPE.
I saw Aura over there laughing for a minute, so I want to get to her next and ask her. But as you mentioned, this whole idea of males dressing up like females and women dressing like men, I just remembered, some of the days in Carnival in Martinique. That was, I mean, those of you in the comments can correct me, but I think it was maybe a Tuesday or a Wednesday where the gender switch, and you'd go on the road and you'd find all of the the male students dressed up in their lingerie. But anyway, we can get to that after. Aura, go ahead and tell us, in your MBM program, was everybody wearing suits and tie? What was it like?
No, it was same thing. I think UE in general just has that policy. Even for med students, they have to wear their lab coats and stuff when it's lab day and whatnot. But outside of
Mm-hmm.
that, I think you can go to your class in pretty much your shirt and jeans.
Okay.
There were no restrictions really. I think I saw people in shorts. I saw people in. You just cannot be indecently exposed, of course, and have your cleavage out and all of that. But aside from that, as Chad said, if they don't kick you out for having bleach on your face, they're not going to kick you out for anything. So you're allowed to go out, come as you are.
Okay. And Shani, Aura just said, you have lab day for some days, so you'd be in your coat and thing. What about in Guadeloupe or at UWI? Did you have any kind of dress code? What were students looking like?
Well, the first 2 years was the same dress code as everyone else. You just, be
Regular
moderate,
clothes.
well, modestly covered. I don't think they allow like slippers, no spaghetti strap, the regular thing. I think the French
At
are
UWI?
more at UE. Yeah, I don't know if it's new, but I think the French are more lax when it comes to dress code. They're a bit more chill. A lot of things aren't allowed at UE, but when we have practical sessions, you have the requirements for that session. So if you're in the chem lab, you have to have your lab coat, goggles, or whatever. Can't remember. Guadeloupe, I just went to school in jeans, I think. Jeans and a t-shirt and like proper shoes, like sneakers or something. But for the practical part at UE now, we have a uniform. The nurses have a uniform. Dentistry and physiotherapy also have uniforms. They're a bit more strict for the practical parts. You have to have your white, very clean bush jacket. Has to be pressed. The men can only wear work pants. They have to wear work shoes. They have to wear black or brown shoes. You have to have your ID and your name tag shown at all times. Um, it's a lot. It's a lot. You have to plan your outfits in advance. Women can't show any cleavage. It's very professional wear for the clinical students because they're saying essentially it's like an apprenticeship and you have to look the part. So yeah.
Okay. We'll be wrapping up soon, but I just want to stop with John and ask if you have days where all of the men are dressing up like women in your classes too, or is that just a thing at St. Augustine?
Well, that's only for the carnival. It's very,
Okay.
very relaxed as Ori said. You could come to class in slippers, barefooted if you like. It's not
Barefoot.
that
People do that.
serious. I've seen foreign students do that. They probably come from the beach and they have a class. For some reason, the Europeans just, if it's not too hot, they like to walk barefooted. Some
I was
of
gonna
them
say something
cringe.
about the French. Similar thing.
Hello.
Yo, I know you're freaking out, yo. Like, why is she doing that? Why are you doing that? I don't know. Maybe they want to feel more in touch with nature and stuff, so they probably come to class like that. But it's very much, like she said, it's not no formal.
Careful when you say you,
Pictures.
Ollie. So it's been almost an hour, and I just want to kind of wrap up this discussion with one final question, which is, would you recommend other persons to study in the Caribbean, or specifically at your institution? I mean, it's been a great discussion here. Um, there's so many things that I would have liked to add, but the conversation has just been so exciting. But I think it really boils down to this: would you recommend other people to do as you have done? Chad, do you want to go ahead?
I would strongly recommend that, just based on the
Yeah.
balance of cost, and the quality of education, because I can still use my degree at UA. I can go other countries and practice my profession. Also, as the reason why I really love the Caribbean, studying the Caribbean, is that you still feel at home. I don't think you go to any other Caribbean country, if it's Barbados or it's Trinidad, and you still feel like a complete stranger or outsider. I assume that if you go America or Canada, it may be a bit harder to adjust. Although I know you may have different unions and groups that will support you, but I would just say that studying the Caribbean would be the wise thing to do.
Amen. Amen. Shani.
I would say yes. I think the experience at UE, it is trying, it is difficult, but I think it's worth it at the end of the day. If as an international student they can get funding from their country and they can afford it, try it. Because when Jamaican doctors move abroad, people are always just stunned by the skill that we have, especially practically. So you know that you're getting quality education here. So if you can, I would say do it. And it's 5 years. Most places is 7. It's an accelerated course. It's a lot of work, but if you buckle down and you get through it, I think it would be worth it.
Okay. So that's the message to anybody who wants to study medicine from anywhere else in the French Caribbean or anywhere else. It's worth it. It's only 5 years. But think about it. So John, tell us now, you are studying in a French speaking country and it's not your native tongue. Would you recommend it to other persons?
Big time. I would recommend the Caribbean because I've had the best of both worlds. A lot of people from Europe come to study in the Caribbean. It's warm, it's friendly, it's nice. The quality of education, like all of us can agree, it's top notch. So I really wouldn't understand why. I mean, people have their reasons and the choices, but I'll definitely recommend as the first option to stay in the Caribbean, especially if UE, because UE has some global integrations with Africa, with China, with the University of Technology. There's this program with China, even here at University des Antilles, they have in Europe. So, you're really not missing out on anything. It's just about what you want to do. I think I highly recommend staying there.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, just to echo everybody's sentiments, I'd definitely recommend studying in the Caribbean. And I think as well, we mentioned that this is expensive. It's not the cheapest thing to do. But guess what? If you're gonna go internationally, if you're gonna go to the US, if you're gonna go to Canada, especially if you're from the English speaking Caribbean and you're not a citizen, it is gonna be more expensive nonetheless. So the Caribbean,
Exactly.
I think, should always be your first choice. You're gonna get a high quality education that's gonna take you anywhere that you want to go, and it's you're not being cut short of anything by going to the Caribbean. And yes, we have student loans to pay off in the end, but it's even harder if you have to pay a student loan in US, or sorry, for going to a US or a Canadian or a European university, because our currency is there but it's not there so it's going to be even more expensive for you. So I would definitely suggest the Caribbean for the cost, for one, for learning about each other's cultures. You benefit from having a family when you come to the universities in the Caribbean. It's not just about having the fun of going to different places and exploring and stuff. You have friendships that last a lifetime and can take you everywhere. Once you go to the Caribbean, who would have known I would have come to Jamaica a few years later and meet back up with friends that I made in Trinidad years before, etc.
And
And
still be in Jamaica.
still be in Jamaica, exactly. So there are opportunities for you even after school. You get jobs in those countries. I know several people who stayed in Barbados, who stayed in St. Lucia, who stayed in Jamaica, like myself, years after their masters, because or their programs, because of the opportunities and the doors that were opened after that. So 100% recommend studying in the Caribbean.
That's good. And I loved one of the points that you touched on there, Aura. Just the fact of studying in a different country and the growth that you experience from being in a different environment. I mean, I'm not gonna say that studying in your home country alone leaves you closed-minded. I don't want to say that in that way. I just want to say that there's a lot more open-mindedness and kind of just cultural understanding and just people understanding that comes from studying in another country, surrounded by like-minded people or differently minded people, which is, I think, an experience that I would suggest for everyone. I mean, I would love to echo everything that everyone else has said as well. And if there are any last minute comments or questions, then feel free to drop them now because we are about to close. But I just want to say as well that the years that I spent in Martinique at UA, and at Sciences Po Bordeaux, and even my years at UE were the best years of my life. Not just in terms of the rich education and just the amazing time that I had in classes, but most importantly for the lives that I met, the lives that touched mine, and the lives that I touched there. Those were really some fantastic experiences that I had. And if we don't have any more questions or comments, I would like to bring this conversation to a close. Do any of you guys have any final words that you want to share? Anything that you wanted to mention earlier but did mention?
Yes, yes.
Yes, go ahead, Shani.
So for the part about how did I finance my education, right? You never asked me any questions about that.
Oh,
So
sorry.
for me, I think the total cost of doing well, I did chemical and process engineering in Trinidad. So I think the total cost, I was just doing a tally on my phone a while ago. I think it was about 24,000 TT, which was about 4,000 US per year. If I'm not, the number may not be that accurate. But I remember in my first year, I think I started class in September, and by about October, November, I had a scholarship interview. So this was Grace Kennedy Douglas Arranged Scholarship for Science and Technology. So I was interviewed. This was a Skype interview, and the internet on hall wasn't great. So I remember my roommate went in first, and then I went in second, and the internet actually stopped during the interview. And so this was UE internet. So I had to rush outside. One of my other roommates, he had paid for internet separately because he said he wanted high speed internet. So I asked him for the password, log back on, and I still did a good interview, and I was awarded with a scholarship a couple weeks later. So that
Congrats.
scholarship was, I think, was 400,000 per year, and the cost of the program, I think, per year was about call it 300,000 Jamaican. So I still had an excess every year. And another thing that for students living in Trinidad, you have what they call a boarding grant, which was 1,000 US. So I applied for that, and I remember applying for that. I was filling out the form, and my rep, this is a Jamaican student living in Trinidad and Tobago. He saw me put on
Barney.
the no, this was Brian. He saw me put on the scholarship because they asked you, do you have any financial support? So I just telling the truth. I put all information that I have a scholarship and thing. And when he saw the paper, he rip it up and then say, I must fill out another form. Because if you put that you have support, obviously you won't get the grant. But that grant also helps. So that is just something else for persons who want to apply. You have boarding grants, you have scholarships that you can use from your own country. And I find that they'll tend to give more scholarships for Caribbean students because one, the cost of the program is one, but also they would recognize your CSEC and CAPE achievements as opposed to you applying to a scholarship overseas where you more have to do your what's the name of the exam? SAT exam, yeah. So it's easier to get a scholarship. And I think Shani, you were talking about medicine. I have a feeling that the reason why they wouldn't want to give that many scholarships for medicine just based on that program is very expensive. So I think less persons would offer that scholarship. And luckily this year, this is what 2022. So I got that scholarship in 2012. Grace actually invited me to be on the as an interviewer for persons who wanted to get that scholarship. So I was actually on the team, the same team that interviewed me. I got a chance to be on the other side. And I
Aw.
remember asking some questions. But even the students that were applying, they were extremely rounded, leadership positions. They were just amazing students. When I look at it, I say, if they were applying when I was applying, I would I never got that scholarship because I never know the competition is so stiff nowadays. And there's another point to note that having good grades is not the most important thing because the person with the best grades actually to me was I would say was the worst candidate, or in terms of the person who applied for the scholarship. So you need to always be rounded. Yeah. So yeah. But and another thing for in studying in Trinidad, I think leaving Jamaica and studying in Trinidad, I think when I left, I felt like I was a calmer person. I wasn't so aggressive. Um, just how I even became more loving, just based on how the other Caribbean countries behave. I find that well, not Jamaicans, but we're
Well said, Chad.
naturally aggressive.
Well said.
We're not aggressive,
You
but
became a sweet
just
man. Is that what
well,
they
Oh,
call
he
them,
never
Aura?
wanted.
Sweet. They call
Sweet
them
boy.
sweet.
Aye.
All right, Chad, sweet
yeah.
boy blacks.
All right, but that's basically it for me.
Oh,
Okay.
that's one thing I wanted to mention just quick. Stephanie spoke about the games. I wanted to highlight on the UE games where the Mona, Campus Mona comes St. Augustine and the one in Barbados, they come together. Oh, also Open Campus and probably let's see, I think last was 2019 was the last UE games. It was in Jamaica. Um, it's
When I met
very
you.
yeah, where we met, it's one of the things that you does to really bring everybody together, and it's wonderful, wonderful. You have people from Belize, you meet people from all parts of the Caribbean, and they coming together for sport. And that's one of the things I remember enjoying. Getting that break, and you apply, they pay for your ticket, etc. You go there, you meet different people. You in a dorm with people from different islands, and you make these connections too with other people from the other islands. So yeah, that was a great experience for me.
That's lovely, John. That's lovely. I would have loved to be participating in UE games as well. I remember these students getting flew out, as the young people say, every summer. And I was just like, wow, maybe I should learn how to play volleyball or, basketball or something. Free accommodation, free flights, and a whole week or two.
Yeah.
I
There
just
was
want to,
also sorry, the committee that you can be on where they fly to, I forget what they call them.
the
The
guild.
the guild. They get to travel to the other
Yeah,
UE
true.
campuses as well.
That's
It's
a
for work.
popularity
Too.
contest.
It's a.
It's
I'm
worth
just
it.
saying what's out there. Just telling you the options, guys. If you want to be on the guild, if you win your elections, it is a what's the word I'm looking for? Democracy, where you have to go up and you get elected and people vote for you, etc. You are the voice of the student when you're on the guild. But part of your job as being the voice of the student is you get to travel to the other Caribbean islands, the other
Not all
campuses,
the time,
No, there are a
and
lot
because
of
I was
learn
a
benefits
more
with the
member of the
guild.
stuff.
guild and in
So
St.
you get a
Lucia.
stipend too.
You get a
And you
Yeah.
get
stipend
a
too.
You get
room
a
that
lot
you
of
don't have to
things.
pay for.
Yeah, it's there are opportunities at UE, man, for you to move around and to meet and mix and mingle with the other Caribbean islands and go to the different campuses and whatnot. There are those opportunities there.
Even
But
Yui Mona, I think one of the hall reps, or not hall reps, one of the guild reps is a girl from Trinidad. So,
oh,
even if
okay.
I think so. I don't remember her name right now, but I mean, there are
Yeah,
opportunities for
it's
international students to represent the university and get flown out too, or flown out, or whatever the kids say. But anyway, guys, this has
for
been
work.
for work.
For work, guys. You get to work at the other campuses.
I mean, work can involve a number of
And
things,
there's
but
work and travel. Very important
yes,
too. That is something, guys. If you're interested in working overseas, whilst you're at UE, you have the opportunity to apply for work and travel, which is really good too, because I know a lot of people who benefited from work and travel, where you're able to work in the US. I think it's mostly the
for the
US. I don't know
summer.
if there's elsewhere, yeah, but mostly
Yeah.
the US, you work for summer, you make a little US dollars, and then you come back to your country and you come do it every year. There are
Yep.
students who apply for it every year. And I know one student in particular who was doing a master's program with me, he did it in his undergrad, and then when he was done his master's, the company that he used to work with summer on work and travel every summer, they called him in and applied for him to have a work visa and everything, and he's there
Wow.
to this day. So
Nice.
doors
I've
open.
heard of a lot of stories as well of people who have been able to go on work from travel, come back, pay off the tuition, buy a car, nice, nice, happy. And then somebody actually came on Twitter like yesterday and said that for the money that he worked during the 3 months of work and travel, if he compared that to the money that he's working professionally now, he's been working for a year and change at the new place, and he's just making the amount of money that he worked 3 months to earn when he was at work and travel in the States.
Oh, impressive.
So just
Yep.
saying, this is another opportunity to help you finance your education. I don't know if this is offered at the other campuses, the other University of the West Indies campuses, but this is something that is afforded to students in Jamaica, regardless of the campus that you're at. But check it out. If you have any comments, this is the last chance to drop it in the chat. Any questions? But this information and other valuable information on financing your tertiary education or other options for studying wherever else in the Caribbean, All of this is available on EduCarib's website, so feel free to check it out. Ask questions where you can get in contact with EduCarib and see what options there are that are there for you. So thank you again to all of you for being here today. Thank you to all of you lovely panelists for sharing your views. I just want to say one last thing: we do not condone lying on scholarship application forms, but but we are here today, and we're glad that nobody was arrested or anything serious. But I'm so glad to have met you all in the different capacities that I met you all. Thank you so much for taking this hour and change to have this discussion, to share your advice, to share your wisdom, and etc. And I hope to see you all again for another live or for the next upcoming Success Week with EduCarib. Thanks to all of the viewers for being here. Thanks for your questions and comments. Again, feel free to check out EduCarib's website. And with that, I bid you all a bonne journée.
Bye bye. Bonne journée.
Bye.
Bye.